Hello, this is Hälts, and I'm finishing a painting. This is my backyard. This is the eagle. Watch. Just gets a little hung up there. Flies away. Similar to finishing a painting. Just when you think it's done, it pulls you back in. The bucks are out. Fall season. Sunshine occasionally here and there. There's been some nice colors. Leaves are leaving. Frosty, foggy mornings. Even the highway's pretty calm. Going into town. Sun-kissed face. This is the dump. This is a car wash. And this is my studio. This is where the inspiration goes down, the good work. On the left is my boxing glove lotus rocket painting, and on the right is what I call the Tara painting. And I've been going back and forth on the Tara and the boxing glove for the last several weeks. I mean, the boxing glove has taken me about 4 weeks to complete, whereas with the Tara, I'd been working on her for the last several months. On and off. Had a few other projects going on as well. Try to get into the studio whenever I can. And you'll probably notice a little bit of pop culture reference going on in the Tara. That is part of my paintomentary style. It's like documenting life through paint. And what it is to be human moving through this world. I find painting and art to be just a healthy and safe way for me to do this, to let those inner feelings out so that I am able to perhaps understand who I am and what this world means to me. And then once in a while, I get to break it up with an ice cream truck commission, where my sole purpose is to bring the little people smiles and light up someone's day. The only thing is, working outside can be really tricky depending on what's going on with the weather, like wind, for instance. And so it's nice to be back in the studio where it's a little bit more controlled conditions. I can control the lighting. There's no wind. So as I keep working on the Tara, I am just making very minimalistic marks. This is probably the hardest part, is to not overthink what I'm doing and just let the painting evolve as easily as possible. Pretty much like how a painting works for me is it starts out very atmospheric and then it kind of builds out to something. So that's how I've rolled these days. There's some jet airplanes flying by. You can see it here. It's a drawing that I made, and then I kind of get my scale and my composition, and then I use those for stencils, for fill in this case because I was using spray paint. Mostly for efficiency, to speed up the painting process, but also the look of the spray paint. I thought it would work really well for the sky, giving it a gradient, and also for the boxing glove, just to give it a nice overall red. And then I can bring that back into the studio to finish. I also love windsurfing. And a little shout out to Vincent at windforce.ca and Futurefly Boards. Vince is a legend. And, you know, those days out on the water ends up going back into the paintings, that kind of energy, the vibe. I mean, it's like surfing waves. It's just, you know, it's what you put into yourself is what will come out. So that's pretty much how it works. It sounds cliche, but I do think that's true. I mean, let's face it, life can get pretty complex sometimes. So trying to keep things simple, just making, in this case, on these finishing marks, it's mark by mark, step by step. Even Keith Richards, I think in an interview, talked about that, and I just saw that recently. And I think that's so true, just to keep it simple. You know, it's only hard when I leave that idea, and then you give it some attention again. Keep it simple, nice and easy, nothing too crazy, just making some marks. Doing my best to not get distracted by external elements like dive bombing off spray. Make sure I'm breathing and letting the creative flow state take over. This is really helpful when it comes to finishing a painting. When you get into your head and you start to think about things, thought can really destroy the creative process. So I actually did find a venue recently, which I will be able to present a lot of my paintings from present to not so far past. Little boxing club in Nelson, BC. Technique and materials. I guess I've been using paints for a very long time, and with that comes experience and a little bit of wisdom. The amount of knowledge I have of paint now versus when I started painting is pretty incredible. I guess the difference now is that I know a lot about what the different brushes I use and paints and mediums, and you know what approach to take for each different project, what type of tools I might use, or you know the type of paint or brushes. That's stuff I think about quite a bit definitely when I'm doing commission work for clients, but also when I'm back in the studio. I'm also doing some quite a bit of experimentation with paints and mediums, and always learning something new. I'm always a student to the art. It's so vast, and to me it's just a lifetime commitment. Also, being in the flow state goes a long way. Finding the flow state, this can be really key for finishing a painting, and also tricky because life is busy. There's always something that comes up. So there's been periods when the Tara painting on the right, I've just taken a little bit of a break. And same thing with the painting here, Slow, on the left hand side that I'm working on. It's the same type of painting. Worked on it for over 5 years. So there's a few like that, because I look at those as like long distance runners. It's not a sprint. This is the road leading into Nelson, BC, where I will be going at the end of November to put my work up at the boxing club. It's a really beautiful drive. This is Mount Nelson. It's what separates the East Kootenay from the West Kootenay, so I basically have to drive around it. There's a little painting I made inspired by Mount Nelson. Coming into town here. I love Nelson, so much fun, and looking forward to and honored to put some work up there and share it with the Nelsonian people and people who visit Nelson during the time it's up. The Tara painting was one that I just wanted to work on. I've painted her several iterations now. This is number 6. And she is a representative of a Tibetan deity or goddess. She comes in different variations, like I think 21 variations. And she kind of represents different things like medicine, protection, healing, power, and she's like the mother of all mothers. Although in this case, she's like a pop culture Tara, so I'm playing around a little bit with an iconic figure in the likeness of Taylor Swift and representing her as being a modern day Tara. It's just something that I like to do in my work, and playing around with popular culture and traditional ideas of what a deity or goddess is. This is my website, hältsart.com, and I have a portfolio on there for people to see of different things that I've worked on. It's more like a contact website, so if you have projects in mind, it's a great way to get in touch with me. I'd love to hear from you. Here's some recent projects, including a eagle feather feature wall that I worked on with Mount Nelson and a full moon. Yeah, also I love making these little shorts where I share my process, and you kind of see how I work. I mean, it is sped up. Obviously, it's quite fast. I do a lot of that on Instagram. This is a custom artwork I did for a lash studio, Mod Lash in Invermere, BC. And I don't know, it just adds a nice vibe to the room. It shows that she cares about her business and she cares about her clientele. I think it's rad. Thank you very much. As I round the bend with my paintings and finishing them up, I'm also thinking about finished artworks that I would like to present alongside, including my paintimentary artwork, Slow. I've also have some other acrylics, one of them being the portal, which I really love this painting. I think it'll go along well with my presentation. There is a limited space, so I do have to decide as to what I want to put up, and that will happen partly on the day as well. The other thing with my paintings is, although I do put meaning into them, I do believe in the human imagination and dreams, and that people have their own imagination and dreams and interpretations, which I definitely try to remain open to, because I think it's important as an artist to do that. And, you know, art brings out other things in people that you may not have thought of, or were even part of your vision in the making of. So it's always nice to see that reaction from the viewer. And that was a little time lapse, kind of showing the evolution of the Tara and the many layers. Whereas the ice cream truck was much less layering and more filling in with pretty solid color choices. And because of the scale, I'm a little bit more limited to the design concept, and, you know, trying to not use too much paint, because in the studio, I'm working on my own paintings, I can pretty much do what I want. Whereas something like this, I need to be a little bit more restrained just for the budget and to not make it, otherworldly expensive, because paint is not cheap. Well, I tend to work on the floor. That's another thing that I like to do. I know there's other artists like that. Sometimes right on the floor, and then I'll lean it up against the wall like this. It just, it's like there's a little bit of yoga involved in some of this painting, I would say, like some of the moves. There's sometimes some stances, some yoga-esque. I wouldn't call myself a yoga guru by any means. This is the view of the valley where I live. Artist pro tip. It's good to, as a painter, you're always looking at stuff up close. It's good to look far away sometimes. Everyone has their own way of working. These are just some of the things that I like to do while I'm in process. To finish painting is really, it's about being in a good mindset. I do a lot of other things that help with the art making process, whether that be windsurfing. I like to do yoga or meditation. I find to be really helpful to center myself, breathing exercises. Sometimes I find, if I'm really working on a difficult painting, that sometimes my breathing stops, and that can become, more of a nuisance than beneficial. So, these are things to aid in the process of finishing a painting and being in that flow state, which, some things are going to happen really quickly. Some paintings that I've done, like the boxing glove painting, happen very quickly, and it's you get that spark and it just happens, and it's almost seemingly effortless, even though it does take effort. And then there's some other paintings that I work on, like the Tara and my slow painting, that I just like to take my time with. I can stop working on them and start on another project if it's a commission or something like that, and then I can jump back into that. So I do hope that you've enjoyed my presentation. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for watching, and I do plan on making a few more of these in the not so far future. So until then, this is Hälts signing off.